Good evening, fellow Floridians and everyone else from around the world who's interested in keeping up with what's going on in the state of Florida. My name is Mike Levine, reporting to you from Glass House Media, right here in beautiful downtown Mount Dora. As you know, we're comparing the Secure Florida proposal issued by Governor DeSantis to the Florida Legislature with the Florida Legislature's response, which is the Trump Act. In my previous video, we talked about the Trump Act becoming very bureaucratic and also very expensive. So again, I just don't want to understate how important this particular subject is. So the law specifically creates other departments under the Department of Agriculture, making the Department of Agriculture a whole lot more powerful. So as we're going through this, I want to just give you a frame of reference for this. So the Secure Florida proposal from Governor DeSantis really focuses on deportation, getting people either to voluntarily deport or turn them over to ICE, who will deport them. The Trump Act focuses a lot more on deterrence and detention. And I also want to just remind you that when the Trump Act was drafted, they had the governor's Secure Florida proposal on the table. So a lot of the information that the DeSantis team provided for the Florida Legislature is just pretty much copy and pasted right into, or with some minor changes, but effectively the same thing as it relates to prison terms for undocumented aliens committing crimes in Florida. Basically, they bump all the criminal sentences up 1 degree. So if somebody, I'm just going to use a third-degree misdemeanor for an example. If somebody committed a third-degree misdemeanor, that crime would be bumped up to a second-degree misdemeanor. If somebody committed a first-degree misdemeanor, it would be bumped up to a third-degree felony, and it goes on and on. But on that subject, the Trump Act actually says that if an unauthorized alien commits a capital offense, then the death penalty is mandatory. A lot of opposition, for example, the Democratic minority leader in the Senate pointed out that that is actually an unconstitutional provision. So that is just another topic about this. That isn't it amazing that in the Florida legislature, the legislature is actually willing to pass laws that they know are unconstitutional. And that's just another concern that I have about the way the legislature functions overall. A body that is willing to pass legislation that they know is unconstitutional, forcing anyone who disagrees with the law to sue them in order to rescind or to prove the unconstitutionality of the law is just a morally bankrupt proposition. But the reason we're talking about this right now is I just want to go through that the Department of under this law, the Department of Agriculture creates a division of law enforcement beneath them. So within the Department of Agriculture, there's a division of law enforcement. And then, of course, we talked about the state immigration local enforcement participation program and the immigration grant program in the previous video. And now I want to talk a little bit about the Department of Agriculture. Now that if this was to be codified into law, then the Department of Agriculture would actually have they would actually oversee E-Verify. And in order to stretch their reach a little further, the Department of Agriculture then would, the law requires the Department of Commerce to penalize businesses that are taking economic development incentive loans to enforce the E-Verify laws, which I don't disagree with. I think that the E-Verify laws should be in fact enforced, but for the Secretary of Agriculture to start just expanding his reach over the Department of Commerce, it just really is, in my opinion, a big power grab that is completely unnecessary. And when you get down to the heart of the matter, why exactly is the Florida legislature doing this? This is just completely vindictive against Governor DeSantis for whatever reason, whatever it is that has turned the Florida legislature against the governor. The Florida legislature is using the Trump Act to punish and to hamstring Governor DeSantis on such an important issue as the enforcement of immigration law and the deportation of illegal aliens from the state of Florida. So thank you very much for listening to my comments. I'm going to continue to post these videos. I'm going to move back over in my next video and talk a little bit more about the Secure Florida Act, but there's just so much in the Trump Act that I think you need to be aware of that I'm focusing on that because I think it's really important that you understand how bureaucratic, how expensive, and how the Florida legislature is using the Trump Act in a way that certainly conservatives are completely antithetical to what's going on in this legislation. So I look forward to getting with you again. Again, thank you for listening to what I have to say. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. And I'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye now.